Welcome back. She was a trailblazer for women in politics, and her new book reflects that reality. Ladies Upstairs, My Life in Politics and After is a memoir from former cabinet minister Monique. I recently interviewed her when she was in Ottawa to celebrate the launch. Nice to have you with me.
You did your homework.
Well, yes, I did. I read this, most of it anyway. You know, I laughed out loud at one part when you were writing about you were getting thinking you were going to go into cabinet, and John Chrétien takes you aside and he says, you know, you got to be careful because you might not get your hopes up in getting a cabinet gig because we already have one in cabinet. One cabinet minister that's a woman. That makes it, we've done our quota.
Well, it was Jean Sauvé, and Jean White added, and her riding is immediately adjacent to yours. So I thought it's like a disease, you know, I'm contagious, she's contagious, whatever. Anyway, and then 15 days later, I'm Minister of National Revenue.
You were, but you turned down the first offer,
yes,
right? Status of women. Why did you turn it down?
Because Trudeau offered me to be the Minister of the Status of Women, but it was not a ministry for the first time. It was simply, it's not even a state ministry. It was a department with no budget, no secretariat, etc. I couldn't even sign memos to cabinet. After the International Year of Women that had been given a zillion to groups, etc. So it made no sense whatsoever.
It's so strange that we think back, and it wasn't seen that long ago, but women were tokens. There was the tokenism. And, you know, what was it like on Parliament Hill being a woman cabinet minister? What sort of difficulties and challenges did you face?
Well, there was only, when I was first elected in '72 with the first 3 women from Quebec, right, because I negotiated 3 safe ridings, not even knowing what it meant, and they said yes. Trudeau had given her, and then he had given instruction to Keith Davis and to David to recruit women. Yeah. So Jean Marchand got 3 of us, and then Keith Davis said, Prime Minister, I looked all over the country, we couldn't find even one. The year after, '74, 9 women.
Did you think that, how many years that'd be? 40 years later, I guess, now it would be sort of the law of the land that you have gender parity in cabinet?
There are now 29% of women in cabinet. When I was first elected, it was 1-point-something%.
Oh, you're thinking of the Commons, but in cabinet it's 50-50.
Oh, yes, in cabinet, and that symbolically is very important.
Mm-hmm. And so it's pretty impressive. So
but he's not the first one. Bob Rae had done it in 1990, and Jean Charest.
Let's talk about the portfolio, because you're probably best known as the health minister. I was out in Alberta then. You weren't very popular out there, but I'm curious. You campaigned against user fees and extra billing. That was a big part of it. Does that thinking still apply, or do you think it's time to start thinking about the private sector expanding into public health care and delivering it?
First of all, there has always been, it's not against the law to have private hospitals in Canada, and there was one, now of course the name escapes me, Northern Toronto.
Is that Shouldice?
The Shouldice, which is remarkable and excellent and has never been a problem. So there is room for private facilities, but it's the rules of the game they should respect, which means no user fees, no, because right now in Quebec in particular, not only in Quebec, in Toronto as well, we have some private facilities, I'll call it like that, because it can be one specialist, it can be a group of them, but they overcharge enormously, and then as soon as there's a complication, these people go back into the public system because they are not capable of doing that, and they cost much more. So, you know, there's room for privatization, but it has to be watched.
The other thing, maybe it's your legacy, the child tax credit, or the child care credit now, which is...
Child tax credit, now Canadian child credit. And that is what I'm most proud of.
You started it, right? So.
Yes, because I was a brand new minister, and it's a coup, literally, military coup by which I did it. I'm very proud of it. And it was in addition to the family allowances, which were still universal, and I fought for that for 7 years I was there, but then it was gone. And it was $200 a year per kid for family under a certain family income tax.
Wow.
And but it has now, and now it's 5,000 to 6,000 depending on the situation. But it has reduced the children's poverty in Canada by some 9 or 10%.
Yes.
And I see that Minister Duclos, the Minister of Family, and whatever the exact name, is very sensitive to that. So I'm touched by that.
So I guess this book will be what you're going to use to get back into politics, right?
Hey?
You're coming back?
No. Politics is now a spectacle because of the social media. The nature of politics doesn't give any way or time to reflect, to think, to discuss, so for me it's a spectacle.
It is.
I couldn't function.
Theater.
I mean, I'm too old-fashioned.
All right. Pleasure having you on the show, and interesting trip through time there.
Thanks very much, Don.
Right, thank you. All right, that's your Power Play Day in Politics. Thanks for watching. Hope you're going to join us again tomorrow. Have a great evening. Sorry, we leave you now with a look at the latest sculpture in Parliament Hill. This was a piece by Nunavut artist Bart Hanna. It was commissioned to mark the 20th anniversary of the creation of the territory of Nunavut. The sculpture will be displayed in the West Block till it can take up permanent residence in the House of Commons foyer. That follows the rehabilitation of the Centre Block. Now, have a great evening.